Hi, this is Michael on YouTube Guitar Tutorials. We are continuing with the Ultraviolet tutorial set. I just completed in part 15, I think, my cover of the Zoo TV version of the song. Ed used his Gibson Explorer back then on the Zoo TV tour. Got the On the Bridge pup. I used the same backtrack as I did on the 360 version, so it's in E. They were actually tuned in E flat when they did the version that's on YouTube. There's a version of it, it's not very great. The audio in the video isn't great, but if you do a search under YouTube, under U2, Zoo TV, Ultraviolet, one of the first things that comes up, one of the first videos, is a video of this song on the Zoo TV tour. There's about 400,000 or 500,000 views on it. And actually, in viewing that, I made a mistake that thanks to Bob, I made a correction on one of my hand positions. The notes are the same, but I'm going to show you, I did something a little different on the solo than what Edge did, but the notes are the same. But we're going to go through now all the parts to Zoo TV that are different than the 360 version. If they're the same, I'm not going to go through them, and you can go through parts 1 through 15 on the 360 version, and you can learn about those parts. I'm not going to go through my effects settings. I'm not going to go through the delay settings. They were all the same that I used in the 360 version, except for I did not use the big fuzz distortion, obviously. I only put on a little bit of the tube drive for the solo and for the very end, and I'll go through that a little bit later. But I used my standard Ultraviolet preset with the 2 delays that we already went through in a previous tutorial. There they are. What happens though is when you use an Explorer, which has got a humbucker, and actually on my Strat I had a single coil humbucker, it had the hot rails, but they sound a little bit different than this Seth Lover. This is a Seymour Duncan Seth Lover I replaced. This is an Epiphone Explorer, by the way. It's not an actual Explorer. It's a great guitar for $500. It's an amazing guitar for $500. But I upgraded the pups and some of the electronics, so you get some great tone out of this guitar. So we're on the bridge pup the entire time. You have the switch down here. And then you get a little more of a chunky, it's a higher output pup, so you get a little more chunkiness, a little more drive. But I didn't change anything in my effect settings. You get that. I turn the microphone off. And that was in, again, I'm tuned in E. If you can play to the version on YouTube if you just go down here a fret or up, I always forget, to E flat, and they play it here. Or of course you tune your guitar down a half a step, and then you play it here on the 5th, 7th fret. So the beginning I didn't change it. I think Edge plays something a little bit different. He just plays the chords, or it's all shimmer in the beginning. But I played the same exact thing that I did in the 360 version at the beginning. So with the shimmer and those basic chords. Okay, that was all the same as in part 2, 3, 4. I forget which part number it was. Then they go into the main riff. And you do that a few times. And then, instead of doing that octave riff that he did in 360, instead we're going to go through now what Edge played in Zoo TV, and I think it's also what he does on the studio version. Actually, the Zoo TV version is the more traditional Ultraviolet version. It's what most people play. What I taught on the verse for 360, Edge changed it up on the 360 tour, or the early 360 tour, and then when they were on Saturday Night Live in the beginning of the tour. So, but this, what I'm going to show you now, is the traditional way that he did these verses. And it's actually a little more straightforward and a little simpler, I think. So let's go through it. I'm going to turn off the, we're going to do this, and then I'll turn off the effects. So after the main riff, going to go to this. let's turn off the delays. And it's really straightforward. It's going to be similar pattern that we learned in the previous tutorials on the strumming. So let me take you through the notes. You're going to put your first finger on this 12th fret on the G string and your pinky finger on the 15th fret on the B string. And again, you're going to use these fingers, either or both fingers, to mute the E string, so you're not playing the E string. I also use the tip of my finger here, first finger, index finger, to mute the D string. So you get this. Muted. D is muted. There's a G on the ninth. Oh, excuse me, that was ninth, not 12th. So this is first finger on the 9th fret, sorry about that, and the pinky finger on the 12th fret. And then you're going to pick up this pinky and you're going to put down the middle finger here on the 10th fret. You're still going to mute the E and the D. You only want to play the G and the B, but just in case you miss and you go further, you don't want to play the D or the E, you mute those. So you get this. Okay, so now we're on here and here on the 9th and the 12th. And what you're going to do when you're strumming is you're going to quickly bring up this index finger up to the 8th on the G string. And then you're going to pull it back, okay? So you end up with this. Or it's like that. So you're going to do that, and then you're going to take this pinky off and then like put this down on the 10th fret. And that's all he's doing, and you repeat that pair 3 times. So you get that's once. Yeah, that's twice, and you do it a 3rd time, and then you go back into the main riff. And we've already covered that. And then after the main riff, you're going to do this again. And then we've got most of the verse covered, and then we're going to go into this other little lick that he does. But before we do that, let's cover the strumming. So what I'm doing here approximately, and it's very similar to some of the other tutorials, I'm not going to cover this in too much detail, but let's go through the basics. I'm doing this. I'm going to try to play it up here so you can see both hands. So that was down, down, that was down, 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 up, down. And then I move up here and I think I do an up. Let's see. Yeah, that was an up. So down, 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 up, down, up. See, that's an up. One more time. So I do up, and then when I come back here, I do up. And then up. So I do up, up, and up. So it's, sorry, it's hard to hit the strings up here. That last part was up, down, up, down. So we got down, 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 up, down, up, because that was up, 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 down, up, down. That's it. So. Up, down, 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 up, down, up, 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 down, up, down. That's it. Remember those little pauses in there, and remember you got to release the pressure on here to get that short staccato. You don't want it ringing out. You want that. You don't want the sustain. You want it to release just a little bit. So we have. See, I'm releasing there. And then go to this. Same pattern. Okay, and then repeat. So that's the pattern, and that's the. Let's do it this way. It's easier for me to play here. Zoom in just a tad. Okay. Okay. Slower. There you go. And notice I changed it up just a little bit there when I played it quickly. I threw in that extra strum just like we do in the main verse sometimes. So you have this. Whoop. Okay, or you heard that. I just put in an extra strum at the end instead of a pause. That was. That's the first way. The second way is. So you heard that? I kept strumming into the pause. So you can always throw in another strum or two in there if you'd like to change up the riff. So we turn on the delays, of course, and we get. And that covers most of the verse. So let's stop here, and we'll go to the next part and continue the tutorial on the Zoo TV version of Ultraviolet. Thanks for watching.